I apologise that women had to witness this today, but in our land, our women have to see the same. You people will never be safe. Remove your governments, they don't care about you.
One has to wonder, what the junk does a person have to do to get liberals to just say, okay, yup, you're an Islamic terrorist? The dude did nothing short of own it with blood on his hands and the bloody tools to do the murder with, in the name of Allah to boot. But liberals are still in denial that this was a murder in the name of Islam. His statement of allegiance has even been omitted in reportings from a New York Times article. And when I consider liberals who either refuse to call these people terrorists or try to remove a statement of reverence to Allah, then it shows me that they're either really naive or straight up liars.
I think what's happening. Propaganda.
Let's keep in mind, y'all, that according to people like Sheila Jackson Lee and Tavis Smiley, we Christians are no better than Muslims about violence. I wonder if Tavis Smiley realizes that by saying that, he's admitting the evils of Islam too. But like a liberal, he can't just admit that. Instead, he has to finger point. It's not enough to say that liberals have their heads up their butts. What it actually is that their head is shoved so far up there that it looks like it's just back to its original position, back on its shoulders. Since Tavis really didn't have Christians to point to make his pathetic attempt at moral equivalence, he had to make up some Christians like the Columbine shooters, who shot a girl for being a Christian. They probably would have shot her anyway just for being in range. But the fact is, they didn't kill in the name of Christianity as their objective. People who go postal may have considered themselves Christians, but their objective wasn't to kill in the name of God. And are you guys going to throw those white-hooded Democrats in our face known as the KKK? Yes, they consider themselves Christians. But again, y'all, this is why it's a commandment of God to not take his name in vain. If you hate and murder people in his name, then you violated his commandments. Now, killing is not a violation of God's commandments, as sometimes killing is necessary to stop murderers. Murder specifically is a violation of God's commandments. And these liberals always forget that it was Christians who spoke out against factions like the KKK and stopped them. Bible bashers will not accept Muslim responsibility for this. Instead, they'll bring up the iniquities of other Christians, because liberals have a sick case of moral equivalence and mitigation. They think they can make Islamofascists look less evil by making Christians look less good. The murderer was saying that Muslims just want to be left alone. Really? Is that why Muslims are breeding their way into Europe? Again? They did it before. Remember the Moors? Muslims are breeding people into their ideology. But we Christians are evil because we introduce people to Christianity around the world with things like, I don't know, food, medicine, education. Nobody is born a Christian. It's a choice to be born again as a Christian. But if your father is a Muslim, then you're a Muslim also, until you choose otherwise. And many are afraid to choose otherwise due to their culture. Anyway, the murderer says that he apologizes that the women had to see this, but the women in his country see this all the time. So I assume he must think it's wrong that women have to see this in his country, so why would he subject women to the same wrong in another country? Then he says for them to remove their government. And then what? Replace it like a government like what he has in his country, where he admits people are getting hacked up in the street all the time? And like clockwork, I heard my local news refer to the terrorist in London as a right-wing extremist. It's bad enough they want to blame everything on us. But I reckon they justify this because the murderer said, remove your government. They don't care about you. Liberals take that to be a right-wing extremist statement. Wrong. Look at the second part of his statement. They don't care about you, meaning that he wants to remove the present government that they have, which is a nanny state government as it is, and replace it with an even more providing government, an even more all-compassionate government that's going to take care of everyone. And Sharia-style government will take care of them, all right. Make no mistake, that kind of government is totally left-wing motivated. There's nothing right-wing about its objective. Had this person not made reference to Allah, the media would have pressed to default him as a Christian, and they wouldn't have given him the lone wolf pass.
I'm a bit of a lone wolf, you know.
Despite the murderous culture of Islamofascism, they'll stigmatize Christians for what we're not doing and paint all Christians as guilty for what this one person did, before even verifying what his ideas were. And if this was a lone action, then why would the British military be told to not wear their uniforms off the base? Sounds more like they're up against a pack of wolves, not a lone one. Had this person not made reference to Allah, liberals would have defaulted him as a Christian, and they would not have considered him a lone wolf. He would have represented all Christians to even all the Tea Party over here somehow. But that's just another example of how confused liberals are. They call us Christian conservatives Nazis, while at the same time calling us Zionists. Do you realize how contradictory that is? They hate us Christian conservatives because we're pro-Israel, yet they call us Nazis. Also, do you realize how contradictory it is that the majority of you libs are hostile towards Israel and give Islam the benefit of the doubt? You blame Jews for all the ills of the world as if the Jews were the descendants of George Bush, yet despite your anti-Semitic sentiments, you liberals accuse us Christian conservatives of being Nazis, when your anti-Semitic attitudes are what's closer to Nazism. I'm AlfonZo Rachel for ZoNation, and one of the scariest things about evil is its effect of spiritual dyslexia. When people defend evil and curse good, and with a poisoned soul, people murder because they feel justified to do so.